Okay, so we're starting here on page 5 of your packet, going over a few more angle pairs. So first we start with perpendicular lines. So perpendicular lines just means that they have right angles. So remember, right angles measure 90 degrees. The perpendicular symbol is this. It looks like an upside down T, and then that means perpendicular. And so here it tells us by definition, line NP and line QR are perpendicular lines intersecting at O. Find the value of x. Well, we know that perpendicular lines equal 90 degrees, and so we just have to plug in 5x minus 5 equals 90. And then we solve. So we add 5 to both sides to get 5x equals 95. And divide by 5 to get x equals 19. So really easy. We just remember perpendicular means 90 degrees. Alright, sometimes they don't form right angles, so these are crossing, but we do have 4 angles here. So we have these 4 sides of this which form angles. So our first one is adjacent. So adjacent just means next to or side by side. And so this is a technical definition. So angles that have a common vertex and side but no common interior points. But just remember, adjacent means they're next to, they're side by side. So if I start with angle VZX, what's adjacent to VZX? So if you look here, we say, well, okay, XZ, so I can do XZW on this side, and I double check X and Z are in both of those, Z is the vertex. Or I could also say VZX and look at the other side and have VZY. So I can find my adjacent angles from the drawing, and I can also double check, did I get the common side and the same vertex. Alright, vertical angles are non-adjacent, so they're not side by side, and they're formed by 2 intersecting lines. So it's anytime we have an X shape, vertical angles are the opposite ones. So that they can be the opposite up and down, and you can think of that as an hourglass, if that helps you remember it. Or we could have the X and the opposite side-to-side angles, and that I would probably call like a bow tie. And so if we start with the same VZX, can you see which one is opposite to it? And hopefully you recognize that opposite to it is angle YZW. And so because they share no sides, I have to pick the complete opposite one. Z will be the same, my other letters will be different. If I took one of the side angles, if I took XZW, then I find my vertical angle would be VZY. Just straight across from it. So vertical angles share the same vertex, nothing else is the same. Alright, and a linear pair just makes a straight line. So 2 angles that are side by side form a straight line. And so that would be, if we start with our VZX, here the XZW forms a straight line. And here, because they're made with 2 intersecting lines, really any 2 side adjacent angles will be a linear pair. And so it could keep going. Alright, so flip on to your next page. And here are 2 very, very important things we use to solve. Is vertical angles are always congruent. So congruent means they're the same measure. we set them to equal each other, just like when we had our midpoints and bisectors. Congruent angles, they just equal each other. Linear pair adds up to 180. And so here, we just have to first look and see. AC, D intersect B. They're straight lines intersecting. Do we have a linear pair, or do we have vertical angles? And hopefully you recognized we have vertical. They're opposite to each other. They're not touching, so they're vertical. And then vertical angles equal each other. So 2x plus 20 equals 3x plus 15. And then we solve. So we minus 2x to cancel it out there, carry down the 20. That cancels out to just 1x plus 15. I subtract the 15 to get 5 equals x. And I go check, did I answer the question? So find the value of x, I did that, and the measure of EBC. Okay, so here, EBC is this angle here. How do you think I can find that angle now that I have x? So hopefully you recognize my first step is going to be to plug it in. So I'm going to do 2 times 5 plus 20. Just took the x and plugged it in. That gives me 10 plus 20 is 30. Okay, and then I can see this is a linear pair, and so I'm just going to do my 180 minus 30 to get 150. And so this angle is going to be 150 degrees. And so often with angles, we start with one thing and we work our way around to find the missing ones. Usually just dealing with vertical angles, the perpendicular to add to 90, or the linear pair to add to 180. Alright, so example 3 is one for you to do on your own. And so go ahead and pause the video and work it out. Okay, so hopefully you paused it and worked it out. I'm just going to give you the answers. So your final answer is x equals 9 and angle JIH equals 56. If you worked it out and got different answers, check with your teacher and see if you can figure out what you did wrong. So go ahead and flip to the next page. So again, we have two lines that intersect at point M. We're asked to find the value of x and the measure of the two angles. And so first we need to see, do we have vertical angles? Do we have linear pair? What are we going to equal them to? And hopefully you recognized we have a linear pair. So it's going to equal to 180. So then I'm just to my part plus part equals whole, so 7x plus 20 plus 5x plus 10 equals 180. Now I do my solve steps. So I'm going to combine my like terms, so combine my x's, combine my other numbers. Because they're on the same side of the equation, I don't do the opposite, I just add them. So that gives me 12x plus 30 equals 180. Then I subtract 30 to get 12x equals 150. And I divide by 12 to get x equals 12.5. We have a decimal this time. So that's the first part of my problem. Now I just have to plug it back in. So angle OMN is going to be my 5 times the 12.5 that I just found, plus 10. I can plug that into the calculator, or I can do the math. It comes out to 72.5. This one is 7 times the 12.5 plus 20. Again, I can plug it all into my calculator. I can do the math by hand. It comes out to 107.5 degrees. And so my angle OMN is 72.5 degrees. My angle OML is 107.5. And then I can check, does 72.5 plus 107.5 equal 180? And the answer is yes, so I know I did my work right. Okay, so example 5 is again a do on your own. So pause the video, work it out. And hopefully you spent the time to work it out on your own. Your final answers should have come out to this. Alright, and then our last terms we're going over are when we are supplementary and complementary angles. So you've seen these before. They aren't new. Supplementary angles add up to 180, complementary add up to 90. If you have trouble remembering these, something that can help if you write out the word supplement, we can make this S into an 8 and write 180. You can also supplement is to add to something, so we're adding, helping someone get ahead, get up to a straight line. Whereas complement, when you complement someone, you build them up, so think of that as building up to a right angle. Or you can write out that word complement and turn the C into a 9 to get 90. So if you have trouble remembering those are some tricks that can help a little bit. So flip on over to our last page of notes for today. And we just read, they are complements. So complements means they add up to 90. Angle 1 is 2x plus 20. Angle 2 is 3x plus 15. And so we just set up our equation with the part plus part equals the whole thing, which in this one the whole thing is 90. And then I solve. So I combine my like terms to get 5x plus 35 equals 90. Subtract my 35 to get 5x equals 55. And then I divide by 5 to get x equals 11. And then I check. It just asked me to find the value of x. I don't have to plug it back in. Alright, my next one, it says they're supplements, so I know I'm going to equal 180. And it gives me angle 1 and angle 2, so I just add them up. 3x plus 20 plus 5x plus 8 equals 180. And again, I do my solve steps. 8x plus 28 equals 180. Minus 28. Get 8x equals 152. And divide by 8 to get x equals 19. Alright, so example 8 then is one of my absolute favorite types of things to do in geometry, is they give me two angles and ask me to find all the missing angles. So I'm just going to start filling in the easy ones. So I know vertical angles are exactly the same. So angle 110 is here. 2 also has to be 110. No math required. I just have to recognize 45. Angle 3 is also 45. Angles 1 and 4 then, I just have to subtract from the linear pair. So 1 and 4, I do my 180 minus the 110 minus the 45. So, because I'm trying to find angle 1 here. So that's my straight line. Subtract what I have. Find out it equals 25. And then 4 is the same thing because it's a vertical angle. Those are the fun, fast parts of geometry. Alright, and then our last one, it just gives me that perpendicular sign. So it says ray CD is perpendicular to line AC. And so I just have to recognize again, they add up to equal 90. And so I solve it out. 13x minus 14 equals 90. Plus 14 to get 13x equals 104. Divide by 13 to get x equals 8. And those are the end of the notes for today.